All right, welcome to math class, lesson 3 on equations. And everything is going fairly well. I think most kids are able to get these lessons and watch the videos and do the worksheets, and that's what's most important. Again, if you do the quizzes, that's just a bonus. Um, but I'm not going to mark them. If you want me to give you some feedback or evaluate them, then you have to take a picture of the quiz and email it back to me, and then I'll take a good look at it and give you some feedback. All right. So today's lesson is equations with fractions. Oh boy, everybody hates equations with fractions. Everybody hates fractions usually. But this is actually a little easier than it might imply. It might sound scary, but I think you're going to find it works out pretty good because there's really a simple way that we can get rid of fractions and solve them just like we do our simple equations. So just like yesterday's lesson where you worked with brackets and we got rid of the brackets first, this time we're going to get rid of the fractions denominators. And we do this by multiplying both sides of the equation by the same denominator. So I'm going to do 4 examples today, and I might do a formal check, but we'll see. I might leave it for another lesson. So here you go. Um, or might even just leave the formal checks out for now. So what we have here is a question that has 4 over k, and just getting my pen ready. And 4 over k equals 2. And so we recognize the denominator of this question is 4. And because the denominator is 4, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 4. So how do I do this? Well, I just draw a bracket. Whoa, it does this every time. Don't panic. We'll just go up here. I think I got to get my pen in nice and tight. There it is, 4. And I'm going to put a bracket around here, and I'm going to say I'm going to multiply this by 4, and I'm going to multiply this side by 4. And that is going to give me 4 over 4 is simply k. And 2 times 4 is 8. And we have now solved the equation. So just remember 4 divided by 4 is actually 1. And so when you have 4 divided by 4 is 1, I don't need to write the 1 in front of the k. It just leaves me with a simple k. And 2 times 4 gives me 8. Now they're not all this simple, but they're not all quite this simple, but you will see they come along and not that difficult. Okay, I'll erase a little bit of my rough work here and go back to my pen. So what has happened is that I have a second question here, m over 3 minus 2 equals 1. So we've added another term in here just to add some level of complexity, just to show you. But again, you can see that 3 is the only denominator of all of it. So that's the only part of a fraction that we just don't like. This is crazy, this m divided by 3 stuff. So we want to get rid of it. So how do we get rid of it? Well, we multiply both sides of the equation by that denominator. And in this case, that's 3. Okay, so I'm going to go like this and write a 3 out front. That's multiplying the 3 by everything in the brackets. It's like using your distributive property. And this side, I'm just going to multiply by 3 as well. I can actually do this side quite easily. 1 times 3 is 3. So I've got that dealt with. And on this side, the 3 is going to multiply in here. 3m divided by 3, well, that's like 3 and 3 over top of each other. So that leaves me with just 1m, which is really kind of nice. That makes my life really simple. But I also have to multiply the 3 by this minus 2, which is going to give me minus 6. And now I have a much simpler equation to deal with. I don't have anything with fractions anymore, and so I can solve this quite easily, recognizing that the minus 6 is a number on the left side of the equation and we don't like numbers there, I'm going to simply move in and I'm going to say, well, that's plus 6. This is plus 6. And I now do my math. M will be what's left here because this is 0. The whole purpose of adding 6 is to eliminate this term. And so that's what we've done. We're now at M equals 3 plus 6, which is 9. And there's my answer. Beautiful. Okay. So I now can move on to even a more complex question. Okay. And I don't find these ones that difficult, actually. I find them easier than the ones that we were working on yesterday. So the last one is a little trickier, but we'll get to it. Okay. Now, this one here, the denominator of all of this, the only denominator is a 4. So by now, hopefully you realize that you're going to multiply both sides by 4. Okay, so I'm going to just multiply this side. I didn't even put a bracket on it. I just say times 4, and I'm going to go 4 times this whole thing here, right? That's going to be 4 times that. I don't know. There we go. Get my bracket in a little better. Now, when I do this, it's like 4 times and then divided by 4. What's 4 divided by 4 going to be? Well, that is 1. And that essentially, this is the trick here, is that gets rid of my denominator and it just leaves me with my numerator. Okay, so my numerator is 6t plus 2 equals 5 times 4, which is 20. And all of a sudden now I have this really quite simple equation to solve. I look at it and I say, what is on the wrong side? Who's where it shouldn't be? Well, this 2 is in the bad place. It's a plus 2. It's just a number. The 6t is okay because it's got a letter. Letters are good on the left side. I don't have any letter terms over here. I just have 20. It's a number. So we're all good. So I move in and I say minus 2 here because this is a plus 2. It now has to be minus 2. 2 minus 2 plus 2 minus 2 is going to give me 0. But then I have to subtract 2 from this side. That's that golden rule. Do the same thing to both sides of the equation. Now I'm going to end up with, that's gone. So I end up with 6t, make that a better t, equals 18. Oh, and I'm getting very close to finishing this. Okay, 6t equals 18. And at this point, I'm going to now divide both sides by the number in front of the variable, which is t. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6, right? It's kind of in the same thing as doing up here when I multiplied by 4. That made 4 over 4 to give me 1. 6 over 6 is going to give me 1. And I like 1. 1's a great number. Oh, it's just really easy number to deal with, right? Wonderful number. So there we go. We got a 6 over 6 and a 18 over 6. And this gives me just 1. So that's t equals 18 divided by 6. Well, if you don't know it, use your calculator, but I'll tell you it's 3. Okay? I'm going to use my, I don't know if it'll let, oh yeah, sure it will. I'm using my pen to clean up my board here because it's a bit of a mess, okay? Back to my pencil so I can write, okay? And so we're going to go to the last one, which is by far the trickiest one. This got 2 fractions in it now, and they don't have the same denominator. As I take a little sip of my morning coffee here. So we see we have a 5 here on the denominator and we have a 3 here on the denominator. And so this creates a lot of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, just like as if you're going to add them, I want you to find the common denominator between 3 and 5. And whenever you're not sure what the common denominator can be, you can always go to this method. It works every time. Just multiply the 2 numbers together. So what is 3 times 5? Well, that's 15. And so what you're going to do is you're going to multiply everything on both sides of this equation by the number 15. How do I do that? Well, I simply put a bracket all the way around this side of the thing, and I put a 15 out front. And remember, that means the 15 is going to multiply here, and the 15 is going to multiply all the way over here. Okay? I think I maybe move that just a touch up there. There you go. And on this side, it's going to be times 15 as well. Okay? So we now have some work to do because we have some math. And the easiest thing to do, I tell kids in these kind of questions, is just take, you can do it two ways mathematically. You can say 15 divided by 5, so it's going to multiply by this thing. You're going to say 15 divided by 5, but then we have to times by the number on top. Okay, we didn't have to do this before because there wasn't a number on top, or there wasn't a number in front of the y here. But now there is, so we have to do that. Okay, so 15 times the 5, okay, or divided by the 5 times 3. So 15 divided by 5 is going to actually be 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so we end up with a 9y for the first term. And if you're not sure here, I'll write it over here. It's really 15 divided by 5 times 3. Or you could do 15 times 3 divided by 5. Both of these answers work out to 9. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You could actually multiply by the 3 and then divide by 5. Or you can go divide by 5 and multiply by 3. But you have to apply both parts of the fraction. That's really important, okay? Then we'll go to this one. And again, I'm going to put my minus sign in because I know it's going to be subtraction. This isn't negative, so it's not going to change the sign or anything. And then I'm going to do the same thing. 15 divided by 15 divided by 3 is 5 times 2. Okay, so what does that work out to? Well, that works out to 10. So it's going to be 10y. And that equals, on this side, 4 times 15 for 60. And look at that, we have now gotten rid of all of the fraction parts of this question. So something that looked complex now starts to become a lot more simplistic. Okay, we have like terms in here that these two can be added or subtracted in this case together. They can be collected. We like to use the word collected. 9 subtract 10 is actually minus 1y equals 60. I have a number in front of my y. I'm going to divide by that number in front of the y. It's going to be minus 1, divide by minus 1. And so my answer is going to be y, which minus 1 divided by minus 1 is positive 1. So that's y equals minus 60, because 60 divided by minus 1 is 60. And we now have the answer to our question. Okay. I am going to go up now. I think I'm going to try doing a formal check here, just because I think it's good for you to see how a proper check is done. I've kind of done these in my head in the past, so I'm going to pretend I'm going to take this question right here. Okay, we're going to take this question here, and we're going to do a check for it. We're going to check the answer. Okay, so I'm going to write the question out. I'm going to say m over 3 minus 2 equals 1. Check. 4 m equals 9. And so the way we do this, we identify the equation as having two sides. This is the left side, this is the right side. Okay? And so what I do is I say the left side, LS, that's left side, equals m over 3 minus 2. And the right side equals 1. And you notice that I actually put the left side to the left side of the page and the right side to the right side of the page. I mean, it's kind of common sense, but that's what we do. Now, there's nothing I need to do here. I already know what the answer for the right side is. It's 1. But there's stuff we can do here for this side of the equation because I have this m. And I'm going to check it for the answer of 9. So where there's an m, anywhere there's an m, I'm going to put the number 9 in. And so then what I do, I substitute in. 9 over 3 minus 2. Well, what's 9 divided by 3? Well, 9 divided by 3 is actually 3. So that's 3 minus 2, which equals 1. So the left side, therefore, the left side equals 1 as well, right? So we usually end this by saying therefore, we use a little therefore statement. The left side equals the right side. That's a proper thing. And finally, therefore, m equals 9 is the correct answer. And I have done a formal check. Just in case you're asked to ever do one of those, I think we're going to kind of pass on those this year with all the circumstances. But maybe one day in the future, if I'm teaching this using the VLE platform, I would definitely include this. But we have a lot going on this year, and so we're going to pass on checks for now. All right. Well, that was your lesson on equations with fractions. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a good day. It looks like it's nice and sunny out, a little cool today, but enjoy yourself and don't do too much fretting. You have the whole weekend to work on this one, and it is a long weekend.